And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Coming up, we're going to speak with Daniel in Marsing, Holly in Caldwell, Liberty Linda. First, we're joined by best-selling author Mike Stickler, MikeStickler.com, who has studied the Bundy case and the Patriot movement throughout the West for many, many years. Mr. Stickler, good to have you back again.
Hey, Kevin, it's really nice to be with you. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you. So we take a look at the Bundy case, what's next for the Bundys. We all thought they were out of the woods.
Yeah, the challenge is that the federal prosecutors in southern Nevada and Las Vegas, they have appealed the Judge Navarro's decision to dismiss the case with prejudice. They are appealing it to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, and if it is overturned by the Ninth Circuit, the case will start all over again. So the Bundys are not out of jeopardy yet.
What do you make of this? We thought with the end of Obama, it would be the end of these crazy, wacky, loony, zany, devious liberal judges. And you would think that the embarrassment that the government had in Nevada, but not with one, but two, but three Bundy cases, it would be time to punt and move on.
You really would think that, wouldn't you? When I got a copy of the actual motion to dismiss with the Ninth Circuit, I've been doing an analysis online, and all they've really done is doubled down on the things that they had said before. Things like referencing the 6 points that Judge Navarro used to dismiss the case, just calling them a handful of documents out of 1.4 not megabytes, but terabytes of information. There was just a small handful of documents that they had missed. But, of course, that's the key thing, isn't it? That small handful of documents. It's not that it was just a few documents. It's really what those documents said and why they intentionally kept them from the defense. That's the key part. So why they're doubling down on it, other than just to try to save face, or the fact that they believe that you just can't challenge the government, is the only conclusion you could come up with.
Mr. Stickler, we've had people moving into Idaho, apparently 1,000 people move in a day, a month, whatever, and they might not be familiar with your background, your unique background with the Bundy case. They might know that you've written a book, that you know Cliven Bundy. For people in the West, for people in Idaho, why is the Bundy case so important?
The Bundy case is important for several reasons. One, out here in the West, there has been an encroachment on people's rights by government agencies like the BLM, the Forest Service. And when you live in the city, when you live in an urban community, you're just not even really familiar with them. In fact, a lot of times you don't even know that they exist. And yet these agencies continually usurp the rights of private citizens in managing their land, managing their ranches, and it becomes more and more of a challenge for those people that live in a rural setting and how they conduct their lives, their business, their traditions, their families. It's a partnership, a very unwanted partnership that keeps being forced upon them over and over again. And really the only thing, whether you like Cliven Bundy or not, whether you think he's a kook or not, you have to recognize that the man stood up and finally said no. He risked everything, not just his ranch, not just his livelihood, but his very freedom and the remainder of his life in this fight to say no. And that's something that is very American, and everyone should recognize that about this one person.
What has been the reaction to your book on Mr. Bundy? You've been to Idaho, you've toured the country. How receptive has it been? I have the unique experience of covering both what happened in Oregon and what happened in Nevada, but you've got most people beat when it comes to knowing Mr. Bundy. We could say you lived together for quite some time.
I did. We both were actually incarcerated. I had my own entanglements with the federal government, and just by sheer providential circumstance, the two of us ended up in the same facility for about 2 months, where I had unfettered relational access to Cliven to actually capture his story. I had no intent whatsoever to ever meet the guy or ever find out anything about him, but I was just so captivated by who Cliven is. He's just a regular guy. He's just a regular rancher. I have a background in agriculture, and he is just like 100 other ranchers I know or more. And so when I started to get to know him, I really came to the realization this guy is not the wackadoo that everybody has claimed him to be. And out here in the West, those that know the story are receptive to the story. And then there's a lot of folks that are just immediately dismiss him, dismiss his story, dismiss his position, and think of him as a crazy man or a crook or worse. And then I find that there's this vast middle across the country who don't even know who he is. They barely registers on their radar of who he is. And that's the group that I just love to talk to because they're fascinated by the story, as I am.
Michael Stickler joining us. If people want to get your book to read more about the Bundy situation, what can they do, sir?
You can go online and you can get the book at clivenbundy.net. That's clivenbundy.net. There's a short little video there. You can find out more, and if you order it, we get it right out to you. And by the way, I think since we spoke last, the book's out now in softcover, and so it's really more affordable now than it ever has been.
Well, we appreciate you, sir, and someday we need to get you to do a book signing here in the Treasure Valley. We'd be happily support you.
We really love to come back. The times I've been there, it has just been a blast, and the people of Idaho are so very special. My wife and I have actually considered retiring there because we enjoy the people there so much.
Well, come on home, brother.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
We appreciate you. That is Michael Stickler joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning. KIDO Talk Radio. Last hour, we were talking about distracted driving. Let's get to your calls. Daniel in Marsing. Good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio.
Morning, Kevin. How are you this morning?
I'm all right. And how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm doing pretty well. I was just sitting here thinking about that distracted driving thing. You know, you're talking about trying to maybe enforce the laws more strictly the ones that we already have on. And I think you're spot on with that. You know, I've mentioned before when I've called them that I'm originally from Alaska, and they'll just throw you in jail for talking on your phone while you're driving up there. You get pulled over for texting or anything else, and they'll just throw you in jail. Well, you sit in jail overnight, it's a $1,000 fine when you get out. I mean, the second time, I think it's 30 days in jail.
I bet you don't have a lot of people talking on their phone in Alaska.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many people really still don't care. But yeah, and it's definitely a lot less of an issue up there because of how strict they enforce that law.
Well, what is the solution? See, to me, Representative Zito, she says enforce the laws we have. I say it's time to increase the consequences, and I don't want to lose anybody that I know or don't know to somebody acting irresponsibly, texting while driving.
I think that I support the local police here a lot, but I think they just kind of, they need to be more, have their eyes open for that a lot more. I mean, I think you're right. I think the fine should be a lot more severe, a $400, $500 fine, for talking on the phone on the first offense, $1,000 on the second. I think that problem would go away rather quickly, or at least it would reduce in size substantially.
It's a start. Daniel, thank you for the call. Thank you for listening to KIDO Talk Radio, sir. Appreciate you.
Thanks for taking my call.
Oh, no. Appreciate you, sir. Let's continue on. Holly in Caldwell, and you never know what's going to happen when Holly calls in on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
I have a tendency to be a little bit blunt. You're right, Kevin. And I got to say, the District 23 is so lucky to have Representative Christy Zito. I know how hard she works. I know how much she reads each of the bills, and she does understand that to uphold the republic, you have to have laws that are constitutional. And I just can't stand by and cheer on any more loss of our rights over stupid laws with more expense to enforce them. You cannot legislate morality. We do not live in a land of the laws that I like. And if we had more constitutional laws and therefore more bills that came to the legislature that actually were made common sense, instead of cheered on the loss of more of our rights, we would have a much more free country we wouldn't have some of the craziness that we have now. And we saw that with Prop 2 when they sent in out-of-state petitioners to get people to even put that on the ballot. It was never constitutional. And if we really want to call ourselves conservatives and we really want to uphold the republic, we need to go back and we have to defend things like that. And why do
they fear coming out and speaking about this? I find it amazing. And look, you know me, you probably have a few names for me, Holly, and that's okay, wishy-washy, liberal, or whatever. But we started in favor of Marcy's Law. Then Greg Pruitt reached out to me. You reached out to me. I said, well, let's get these folks on. The proponents reached out to me, never heard back from them. And that's fine. It's not like you don't know where I stand on it, but on the grocery tax you do. And yet, right. Do they believe that they're just going to get this by without, really responding to the conservative base that is what really runs Idaho?
This is an out-of-state bill that's funded by high glossy money. This is not a bill that the general public, if they just glanced at it, would think that it was something they should vote for. They would think it was about a poor woman that was hurt. This is not what it's about. All of the writing in it is about a lot of red tape, about opening us up for lawsuits, and it also could be backdoor red flag laws. That's why I like Kristi Zito is she isn't there to wine and dine and entertain with her friends. She is there to actually read the bills and understand them.
And for people that aren't familiar with what a red flag law is on KIDO Talk Radio, can you give it to us in like 30 seconds what it is?
Basically, it just bypasses due process. And, we've seen that happen across the nation with the libs, even in the Kavanaugh case, trying to come up with all kinds of weird accusations. So that could be based on anybody's judgment. It bypasses due process. They can label anybody they want with that, and they can go in and take their guns.
Amazing. Holly, thank you for the call.
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right. And let's go to Utah. Who knows? We've got our affiliate station, 107.5 FM, our flagship station, 580 KIDO. Maybe, a station in Wyoming, people in Utah. Maybe we should be on in Utah. Fortunately, we have our Utah correspondent, Liberty Linda, joining us now on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning.
Good morning. Well, we need you in Utah, Kevin. That's for sure. A strange thing happened to me this morning. I'm sitting here, and all of a sudden the Bundys come to my mind for some reason.
Right.
I'm thinking of the Bundys, and then you introduced Mr. Stickler. Of course, I've met Mr. Stickler. I've heard his story. An amazing story he has, and how he got involved with the Bundys. And, I just want to thank you. It was a nothing story, and then you got involved in it, and, it was just amazing. I'm so thankful that you went and talked to the Bundys, Mr. Bundy, and got this story out in Idaho. And it's still, now, it's an amazing story because here now it's still going on and on. Can we believe that, what's going on with the Bundys, the poor Bundys? That's all I can say.
Hey, now I have a question for you. What's the name of your book again?
The Spirit and the Sticker Patch.
The Spirit and the Sticker Patch.
I don't know if you've read it yet. I know you've read part of it.
Right.
And it's a spiritual book. I wrote it so as people read it, they can feel the Spirit upon them. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote it. And it's my spiritual experiences in my life. And anyway, I highly recommend it for that, to feel the Spirit.
And that's available on Amazon.
It's, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Deseret, Seagulls, all of those places. It's available. If you do, some of them you'd have to ask them to order it for them, because I haven't got up there yet.
Well, Tea Party Bob says that you've inspired him to write his book now, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I've had amazing visions. I had a vision about the Oklahoma bombing. I knew who actually was involved in that, and I had it instantly when it came on the television that day. And so these are interesting things. I mean, maybe others have had these visions as well. Maybe we should get together. But anyway,
maybe you could predict the next disaster.
I saw Elizabeth Smart. I knew who abducted her. I tried to alert the Salt Lake City police. They did nothing about it. And when she was found, rescued, it came out exactly as what I'd seen. I don't say these things but I have proof that the things that I see in visions, like this morning, the Bundys came to my mind, and then all of a sudden you have Mr. Stickler on. And, I can't imagine, I don't know why the Bundys came into my mind, but they did. So these things happen, and many other people have these inspirations as well. But anyway, I have 2 words. To change the subject here, I have 2 words, Kevin, to express how I feel about marijuana. Those 2 words are icky poo.
I see. Icky poo. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, those are very strong words. But, I see nothing good about marijuana. I actually know nothing about it except for when I was growing up in California, where I saw, some people smoking it. And, but anyway, right, nothing good about marijuana is all I can say about it. And, I don't know anything about hemp. So you're telling us, you're explaining to us about what's going on with the hemp problem.
And
so
by
I'll
the
just listen to you every morning.
And let me just say one more plug for your book. I love that it's under Liberty Linda.
I did. Well, everybody knows me as Liberty Linda, and,
Yes.
My heart is in Idaho. I love you there. I love all the Idaho people, and, I just miss you so much, but circumstances happen in your life. I had the same circumstances as Cindy did. Cindy, I think, moved to New York.
Washington, yeah.
Was it Washington? Anyway, what's going on. All the Californians moving in, raising the prices and everything. And that's why, I had to move it all of a sudden. I didn't even have time to find another place up there. So I'm here for now, very thankful, which a lot of us have gone through those things in our lives. We don't know sometimes, I was thankful I ended up in Boise when I did because I had family there after my husband passed away.
Well,
but
we appreciate
anyway,
you being with us each and every morning.
Oh, I love you, and I love your show. I love your callers, and, it's just part of my life. It's part of my heart and my life now. And how wonderful you are, Kevin. All of us that listen to you, you're just amazing to us every morning. Thank you so much for being there for us. That's all I can say about that.
Well, it's a blessing to be with you. God bless Liberty, Linda. Here's a hug over the air. Take care now.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. You as well.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Coming up next, one major presidential candidate says it's time to get rid of Columbus Day. We'll tell you who. It's not a Republican next on KIDO Talk Radio. And right before Dave Ramsey is our good friend Glenn Beck. Blessed to be with you, Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. A lot of people say, Kevin Miller, do you have anything funny? I know you're not a yuck guy, but can you give me a little something to talk about? Well, here, to anybody who's married or living in sin, like we used to call it in the old country, or living with someone, here's a question that many people would like the answer to. It involves something that is very close to all married couples and all people living together, if you will. Is failing to bring home dinner for your wife grounds for divorce? Now, we go to Abu Dhabi for the very latest. One woman in Abu Dhabi thinks so. Here's our own Gary Baumgarten with the details on KIDO Talk Radio.
According to the divorce complaint, the wife was home alone waiting for her husband to return from romping in the desert with some buddies. She put in an order for a burger at a fast food joint, and he promised he'd pick it up on his way home. But when he returned at 3 a.m. empty-handed, a heated argument broke out, and the woman stormed out of the house and later filed for divorce. Gary Baumgarten, Fox News.
I hate it when that happens. What'd you bring me? Nothing. Get out. Kevin Miller in the morning on your home for Fox News on the radio, KIDO Talk Radio. Hey, did you know that French fries can cure baldness? I know what you're saying. Kevin Miller, clickbait. Well, this is the radio. There's a story right now on our website, KIDOTalkRadio.com, that there's a new study that says a certain fast food franchise's French fries could be the cure for baldness. You can read about that, and if you missed that story, subscribe to the KIDO Talk Radio newsletter where you get All the news from here at the Broadcast Center and throughout the country delivered to your email inbox twice a week for free. Coming up next, why Kamala Harris does not like Columbus Day. That's right. It should be Indigenous People Day. What is wrong with America? Let's fix it together. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
And we roll along. So Kamala Harris does not want Columbus Day. She wants it replaced with Indigenous Peoples Day. This happened during her first campaign swing in the first in the nation primary state, New Hampshire, or as they pronounce it there, New Hampshire. Senator Harris told a Monday crowd in Portsmouth that she would support replacing the long-standing U.S. holiday Columbus Day in favor of Indigenous Peoples Day, a movement of the left, according to NBC News. I'm sure that really went over well in New Hampshire. About 1,500 people attended the event. By the way, Senator Harris says she's not going to apologize for prosecuting murderers, rapists, and drug dealers. Apparently, people have an issue with her being a former prosecutor. Never mind, she had an affair with Willie Brown, the one-time flamboyant mayor of San Francisco. Kamala Harris is coming out against Columbus Day, but in favor of prosecuting criminals. Well, that's reassuring. If we were a betting crew, it wouldn't be bad to, go to Vegas and say, I think I'll take the president and the 20 points, if you will. I just don't see a lot of people having the gravitas to beat him, right? That's the way it seems. Now, we did report that next week, according to CNN, the Chicken Noodle News Network, if you like, or call them something else, that the Mueller report will be released. Now, the Senate came back and said, there's nothing here. The Senate Intelligence Committee. Now, what will Mueller reveal, if that's true? Joining us now from the White House, remember, when you're hearing these exclusive reports from the White House, from New York, from Capitol Hill, you hear them because of our relationship with Fox News. Fox News only here, proudly in the Treasure Valley on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go live to the White House, and John Decker joins us now. John, good morning.
Good morning to you, Kevin. How are you doing today?
Not bad. Now, would you mind if I just say something totally goofy and irrelevant?
Sure, go right ahead. Absolutely, go right ahead.
I've been reading the Cliff Sims book, which is The Team of Vipers.
Okay.
And the only thing that I can take away from it is in the Oval Office, apparently the president, according to Mr. Sims, has a button on his desk that's a red button, and he kind of plays with it sometimes during meetings, according to Mr. Sims, and people wonder what the button does, and when he pushes the button, it gives him a Diet Coke. Somebody comes in and brings him a Diet Coke. Now, I don't know if that's true, but it's fascinating the details you get from these tell-all books, and after I'm done with Mr. Sims's book, then I'm going to go read Chris Christie's, but you live in this every day, the cramped quarters of the White House press corps. How is the mood there? Sorry for the distraction, but every time I'm reading about the White House, I think of you and your workspace, having covered several administrations for years, sir.
Right. Well, I think that there right now, I think there obviously is some excitement because every day brings something new. The news cycle changes so quickly when you're covering the Trump White House. Next week could be a week in which it could be a very meaty week in terms of news coming out of Washington. Why is that? Well, we'll have the testimony before the House Oversight Committee by the president's former personal attorney, Michael Cohen. That's going to happen on the 27th. And then there are various reports saying that Mr. Mueller may be wrapping up his investigation and will be ready to hand over his confidential report to the Attorney General, Bill Barr, any day now. So that's why I say it's going to be a busy week next week.
Indeed. So the Mueller report coming out, no one really has an idea of what's going to happen.
No one has a clear idea as to when that's going to happen because Mr. Mueller has kept things pretty close to the vest, and that's the way he has done things from the start since he began this investigation back in May of 2017. No leaks. I was just about to say very few leaks, but no leaks, zero. And that's pretty remarkable for any investigation. It gives you a sense about the teamwork camaraderie that he has on his team, that there have been no leaks. which leads to lots of speculation. So, for instance, I've seen a report that CBS put out that Mr. Mueller may turn over his completed report to Mr. Barr as early as tomorrow. That's coming from CBS. But CBS also reported erroneously that there was going to be an indictment coming from Mr. Mueller's office in November. Never happened. Never happened in November. Never happened in December. There was an indictment that happened of Roger Stone. That was late January. But they got that wrong. And I'm guessing they relied on some of the same sources to report what they're reporting right now. So, you just have to sort of wait and see and be patient. And, we'll report when the news actually comes up that we can report it accurately.
John Decker, Fox News, joining us on KIDO Talk Radio. Let's go to some real stories then. The president going after California for wasting federal dollars. Can you give us the background, sir?
Well, California, for literally decades, has wanted to build a high-speed train that would go from San Francisco down to Los Angeles. And what we heard the other day from Gavin Newsom, the new governor of California, is that they are scaling back that plan. And upon hearing that news, the Transportation Department said, okay, we'd like the $2.5 billion that we provided to California in the form of grants for your project, and we're also not going to give you the $1 billion that's been in the pipeline for this project. So Gavin Newsom putting out a statement of his own saying that California will fight for what is theirs. And so, you have this little bit of battle taking place between the president of the United States and the governor of our most populous state.
I'm going to put you on the spot here, John Decker, and you're going to go, that's an easy try, Kevin Miller. Is it too soon to think that Mr. Newsom could run in 2020? I know it's a crowded field, but he's been on the national radar since he was, the mayor of San Francisco?
Well, that's exactly right. And I think his name often gets mentioned as a possible top of the ticket or bottom of the ticket mention. But keep in mind, California already has a representative, a pretty well-known representative, Kamala Harris, who's running for president. I think that the timing's not good for Gavin Newsom if he was planning to run in this cycle, but things change. If there's no clear front runner, who knows? Maybe he gets in the race. I have no idea. I've always thought that I don't know. I don't have a specific person in mind when I say this, but the best person I think for Democrats to run against President Trump in 2020 for me would be someone from the Midwest, not someone from either coast, from either California or New York or Massachusetts. It's someone from the Midwest that can compete with the president in some of those states that he did very well in, like Wisconsin and Michigan and Ohio, that Republicans over the course of the past few election cycles have not done well in. So I don't know who that person is. I don't know if Democrats will look at it that way. But to me, just generically, I think that would be their best bet.
John Decker, always appreciate your reporting and insight. And live from the White House, thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot, Kevin. Talk to you real soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. John Decker. We are so proud of our affiliation with Fox News Radio, one of the original Fox News radio outlets in the country. And we love having John on and all the folks from Fox, and, of course, our relationship with Sean Hannity this afternoon from 3 to 6. Let's take more of your phone calls because we are a local show based here in the Treasure Valley of Idaho, the Gem State, if you will. Joining us now, our own Gem, Max from Garden City on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Good morning, Max.
Good morning, your own Gem. Oh, shucks. Well, we're talking about this distracted driving situation. I know that in Idaho and many other states, the police will occasionally have, I don't know what you want to call it, sort of a crackdown. And they'll put squads of cops all over the place, nailing people for driving drunk. So why can't we do the same thing for distracted driving? And as everybody's been saying, raise the penalties of distracted driving. Because if you're reaching down between the seats of your car to pick up the cigarette butt, or if you're on your phone, both are equally dangerous, aren't they?
Agreed, but I still think there should be a bill, and it's easy to put this on law enforcement and say they should do their job. They've got enough to do. And this whole distracted driving thing, you raise the consequences. You have a specific law. Look, I'm not a fan of getting rid of liberties and freedoms and such, but I do know when I go to Oregon, I do know when I go to Nevada that I'm a good monkey, and I do not have a non-hands-free device when I'm on the phone. I try not to be on the phone when I'm in those states.
Okay, but here's the thing. Whether you're distracted or on the phone, we're talking semantics. It's words. The real deterrent is the punishment. You're talking about Oregon and how high the fines are. Good. All we've got to do is just raise our fine level on existing laws. Why do you have to sit down and pen your 5,000th law of the month?
True, but how do you explain, Brother Max, that in these other states they don't have the problem? I like the guy from Alaska saying they put you in jail and fine you $1,000.
Okay, I explain it this way. People don't do it because they know it's going to cost them a lot of money or their freedom. It doesn't matter what instrument this happens by, be it the distracted driving law or be it drunk or under the influence driving. A law is a law. It's the punishment that's going to do the job. Here's a problem, though, and I'm fighting myself on this one. Prosecuting distracted driving is very difficult because it's he said, she said. And even though the cops generally win in court, there are a growing number of cases where the police officer's only word against the person's only word of defense, they don't even get past arraignment. Fines are overturned. We need a solid way of locking down that a person is overly distracted when driving. And when we can prove it, nail them. I'm all for $1,000 first offense, suspension of driving in 2000 second offense, and you never drive again third offense.
Well, we don't even do that for drunk driving.
Well, then why don't we do that?
Well, that's why we have this show, to come up with those things. Max, anything else?
Yeah, one thing I wanted to mention. While in America now we're working on taking away a few more rights, these little backdoor laws, it's kind of funny to think that in the People's Republic of China 2 weeks ago, the Politburo and the People's Congress issued a new law that says that policemen may not enter or search your home without a magistrate summons, special paper. If you don't have a warrant, you can't get in. Now that's interesting that communist China, hardly famous for human rights enforcement, is easing and giving a little more right back to the people. While in the U.S. we're trying to make victims so special and homes so open.
I'm not down with keeping my home open. Max, thank you for the call. Out to Pete in Mountain Home. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning, Kevin. In the interest of bringing a little bit of light humor to people's life,
please.
I have a joke about the 3 California Democrats who were visiting Idaho to see if they wanted to move here to get away from their taxes and everything. And they were walking through the sagebrush south of Boise because, they have never seen sagebrush before. And they came across some tracks. And the first Democrat looked at them and said, those are deer tracks. And the second Democrat looked at them and said, no, those are elk tracks. The third Democrat looked at them and said, no, you're both wrong. Those are cattle tracks. And they were still arguing when the train ran over them.
Well, that's not funny, but...
Well, I thought it was funny. And everybody I've told it to thought it was funny. But yes, it just shows, hey, they're from the big city.
Well, and we have a lot of good people from California moving here. It's trying to balance that with the crazy libs.
In 2004, so,
right.
I can't complain about the conservatives that are escaping California. It's the people that have turned California into a literal hellhole and then have decided now, we got to get out. Let's go to Boise and see if we can make that like California.
Yeah, and, you talk to people from California, and I was talking to a gentleman yesterday, and he was said, hey, what's it like? He was very, people tell me about Boise, and I go, dude, Boise's okay, but it's the Treasure Valley. And I was talking to him about towns around here, and he goes, whoa, that sounds pretty good. And, he was very concerned about the taxes. The people in California, the good ones, they've been beat up. They've been abused. And look, we always say welcome to America when they move here. My only thing is the libs that want to, all of a sudden you're not a little boy or a little girl, you're a little X. You can keep those thoughts in California, and you can keep your plates in California. We don't need that stuff here. It's like, Pete, you ever work at a place and some people just complain all the time? And I guess that happens everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And you reach a point, and I tell this to people here at the broadcast center. I tell it to everybody else. And it's like a self-awareness thing for me that, do you want to be here? Because if you want to be here, this is what it's going to take. If you don't want to be here, then move on. If you want to be here, get your Idaho license plates, be a part of the community, and don't turn us into the loony left of the Mountain West.
Oh yeah. Well, when I escaped the People's Republic, I came up here, and a friend of mine lived here, and I, shall we say, moved in with him. Was staying in a spare bedroom for a few days. I immediately went down, got an Idaho driver's license and Idaho plates, and I still had all my junk back in California.
Sure.
And when I was going back there to pack up and move, Idaho, they don't care what you do with your California plates, so I stuck them back on the truck when I drove into California, because California gives you 21 days to have California plates, or they will fine you.
They don't play.
Nope. And so I would switch plates every time I went back and forth. I'd put Idaho plates on when I came up here, and California plates when I went back there, until I escaped permanently. And it amazes me, the people that move here from California. There's not very many of them in Mountain Home. In fact, I don't think I've run into any that say, well, in California, we used to yada, 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 yada.
See,
and I say, well, why don't you go back?
But Mountain Home is what the Treasure Valley was 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah, Mountain Home, yeah. I think Elmore County is like 35% veterans.
Right, but I mean, you have a lot of people that have moved there. They want to be there. You haven't been hit yet by the massive influx. Pete, I got to run, but thank you.
Thank you, Kev.
Appreciate you. Let's go back to the phones. Sonia in Nampa with Kevin Miller on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio. Hello, Sonia.
Good morning. I just wanted to call in and say my niece was killed in a car accident on the freeway in Oregon because she was texting. It was her fault. And I'm really against people using their cell phones because I don't want them to run in and kill me. And in Utah, it's illegal. It says that you can't text or do any kind of manipulation of your phone, and they smack you with a big fine. So whenever I'm in Utah, my husband's driving, and I'll get on the phone and figure things out. Or if I'm by myself, we pull over. But you're right. We need to be considerate of other people's lives that we could possibly kill. But it was a tragedy what happened in our family because this young girl thought she could text and drive down the freeway. And
well, I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah, we are too. But we wish that I tell my kids, don't you ever pick up that cell phone while you're driving, Well,
I agree with you. I don't want them killing me.
Yeah. And I think a big fine is what they should do, because if the people get caught and they're smacked with $1,000, they're going to think twice before they pick that up. They'll pull over. The other thing I wanted to say was that, hey, there's a bill going now in the House and onto the Senate about getting rid of daylight savings time, and I'm all for it. It's not mentally and physically and emotionally healthy for us to be yanking around like this twice a year, and I'd love it if everybody call in to their representatives and senators and tell them let's get off this and get rid of this monkey business that's been going on for way, way too long. So in Arizona, I'll just have to say this, they don't have that. And the sun goes down about 8:30, and people put up little Christmas lights at their restaurants, and people go out for a cool evening in the summertime and enjoy it,
Oh, no,
Here
the summer is abusive, especially to us early risers.
It is.
I agree with you, Sonia. I got to run, but thank you.
Thank you. All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Join the conversation next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And coming up, we're going to speak with Congressman Russ Fulcher. And don't forget, weeknights 6 to 9, Lars Larson, nationally, regionally syndicated, but he's a Westerner. He loves America, he loves the guns, and he loves cigars. Check out Lars Larson weeknights after Sean Hannity, 6 to 9 on KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Time to get you to work safely and on time.